have to admit I have to do more thinking on that. I like the sentiment that people like Philip Effiong espoused and Charlie Boy, Area Father, espoused. The pursuit of the Biafran spirit. And I'm in the middle when it comes to seeking a separate Biafran state, a geographic state that belongs just to Biafra. I would love to explore the notion of being able to have true federalism that allows Biafran states, or that general region of the southeast, to have the autonomy and to have the resources that it needs given to the state, not by individuals that happen to have made it and are now developing the area, but that are generated from the state and that come out equally from the federal resources to really develop that region. I don't know if I subscribe to secession. In fact, if secession is going to take us back to where we were before in 67 to 70, I wouldn't want to see that. I wouldn't want to go backwards. I didn't see the first one. Why should I have to see the second one? The first instance didn't work for various reasons. I don't know if we should even go down that line again. But if there's a way that follows modern conventions and there's enough political will and galvanization, and you can prove that there will be no bloodshed, maybe that's the way to go. I'm still on the fence. I really am not sure secession is the way to go in 2017, especially if it's going to incur violence against people who are not agitating for that at all.
Finally, why do we need to tell this story of Biafra?
We need to tell it because it's part of our history. We can't deny our history. We need to tell it because our children will ask us why we didn't tell it, just like my generation asked our parents why they didn't tell it. We need to tell it because it enhances understanding between people within Nigeria and between Nigeria and the rest of the world. We need to tell it because it's not only Biafran history, it's not only Nigeria's history, but it's world history. There is a group of people who continue to be marginalized because they want self-autonomy, they want self-expression, they want independence, and they just want to live the fullest potential as a group of people. That story does need to be told. Well, you really, that's what this conference and learning about Biafra 67 to 70 is all about. You can't start, and I can say this because, I've become a bit of an activist in Nigeria for the Chibok girls and for the issues of the Northeast as a humanitarian, as a fellow human being, having empathy. But I think that empathy came out of being an offspring of people who survived Biafra, 67 to 70. You have to learn about what happened then before you go and carry a placard or anything for a new agitation. You have to learn two stories, you have to learn two perspectives, you have to learn two objectives. And once you learn about the first one, which all of us are in this process of learning because people are still healing, people are still peeling off the bandages and revealing the wounds. Once you start even sensing what actually happened or begin to start processing what happened, it almost behooves you to go and rush into another agitation without fully learning about the last one. It's almost foolhardy to do that. And so when people ask, do I want secession? Do I support the current agitation? I can't really support the current agitation because quite frankly, I'm not sure where it's coming from. I'm still learning about the other ones, about the previous agitation, which resulted in a bloody war and wounds and devastation that we still continue to try to heal today. So why the other agitation? So what I tell young people is, listen to everybody that you can. Find out as much information as you can. Don't just rely on the internet. Talk to people. Talk to people who survived the Biafran Civil War. Talk to people who are involved in the new agitation, and compare and contrast the stories. Compare and contrast the motives. Compare and contrast the intentions, and compare and contrast where you might end up. Because the last one didn't fare us very well. What it did is really showed our resilience as a people, and we had to overcome. Don't rely just on the internet. Go to individuals, human beings that you trust, and even seek out an opposite slant to what you're trying to find out. Just do your homework, do your research, and then decide what you're going to do. But make sure you do that research. Don't take one person's account of what is happening. Like Chimamanda says, there's no single story. There are multiple stories, and that will help inform your decision. People often ask why I participate in activities in the Northeast and whatnot. I had grandparents that lived in the North, spoke fluent Hausa. We still have cousins that live in Kaduna, of all places, where there are agitations happening. And Igbos are everywhere. We're like the Jews of Africa. We're the Jews of everywhere. I remember even traveling when I had to go from London to Afghanistan. I stopped in Dubai. The only other black person that I saw was an Igbo person, already in his local dress, ready to do business, and it was quite funny. But like I said, Biafra has the Northeast insurgency has opened up a lot of stories that have come in from my parents. So when I was talking to my mom about being accused of aiding people in the North, and she said, let me tell you a story about the house in the village. She told me that my grandfather, which I had known, he had been in the army at some point. Even my mother's younger brother is an army doctor. My grandfather had been in the army, and there was a young man that was always trying to hustle and try to, get my grandfather to give him errands to run so he could make a little bit of money. And so my grandfather saw something in him and told him he had to join the army. So he joined the army, and then when Biafra broke out, my grandparents came back to the south, to the southern part of the eastern part of the country. And after leaving, they had to flee the village, but didn't go very far. And my grandfather, who was a big wrestler, 6'5", 6'6", they told him that the military, the army, the Nigerian army was in his house, and they were actually looking for him because there's a big picture of him in the living room. And the army officers were asking, who is that person? So my grandfather was not afraid of anything, went back to the house, and who did he see asking for who the owner of the house was? That same guy that he had convinced to join the army. He's the one that saved the house in Northerner. A Hausa officer, a Nigerian officer, made sure that our house wasn't burnt down or destroyed, and the house is still there till today. So you never know where help is going to come from. You never know who you help and how that will return to you. So when I go to any place, I don't think this person did something to us. I don't even think these people actually saved us, and that's why I'm doing it. I only learned that story in the course of helping people in another part of Nigeria, and that's just who I've always been. I work in public health, I work in development, I go to different places, and that's what I do. How dare I not do it in Nigeria? But it just goes to show you that humanity is really stronger than any divide that we erect between ourselves. Like Charlie Boy said yesterday, and I think Dr. Obi Ezekwesili also said it, a lot of people say that when they're sharing money, there's no divide, there's no ethnicity, there's no tribe, there's no religion. When they're thinking about how they're going to enrich themselves, the greedy politicians, I do admit that I hope and pray that they're positive and those that are not greedy, but the ones who have that sense of entitlement, of siphoning from the natural resources of Nigeria, they speak one language. There's no religion, They are one, and they are united, and they've been united. You can see that by the underdevelopment of Nigeria. That didn't happen from the outside. That happened from within, from different parts of the country. So we need to stop fooling ourselves that we can't help one another and move forward. There is a possibility to do it. It happened during Biafra, and it can happen today.